to make a very quick video on the reasons why I chose the DS. In my one of my previous videos, I went over why I didn't choose the lap band. However, there are 3 other surgeries out there, being the vertical sleeve gastrectomy, the RNY, Roux-en-Y gastric bypass, and the duodenal switch. And quite honestly, I actually went into Dr. Stewart's office, my surgeon's office, thinking that I wanted the sleeve. I'd already ruled out the RNY. I did not like the idea of a blind stomach. For those of you that don't know what the anatomy of the Roux-en-Y gastric bypass is, basically they create a pouch in the upper portion of your stomach and separates it from the lower portion, and then they reroute the intestinal up to that upper portion of the pouch where the food all goes. And because of that, you're very limited. Actually, you can't take NSAIDs, and I suffer from migraines, and a lot of times I rely on NSAIDs to relieve those migraines, especially if I don't have any migraine medicine around. So the RNY, for many reasons, including the NSAID issue as well as the blind stomach issue. You've got that blind stomach that sits in there. There's no way to get to it from the up, or the bottom. You can develop ulcers, all sorts of things down there, and there's no way to get to it except through some sort of surgery. So I ruled that out really quickly. So that left, well, as far as I knew at that point when I was doing my research, it left the vertical sleeve gastrectomy. I hadn't heard of the duodenal switch, didn't know what it was. Called Dr. Stewart's office, and I actually called another surgeon's office. He doesn't do the DS, but I got their videos. And when I watched Dr. Stewart's video, that was the first I'd heard of the duodenal switch, and my interest was very piqued. I was very impressed with the excess weight loss, long-term excess weight loss, but I'm also not a risk taker, and it does carry the highest risk because and I'm not going to go into an anatomy lesson of this particular surgery because it's hard to do without a picture. But part of the surgery is where they divide your small intestines into one of them, one portion of it carries the food from your stomach down to your large intestines. That's called the alimentary limb, and then there's another limb that carries your digestive juices and your liver enzymes and your bile and things like that. Carries it, and actually the 2 limbs meet, and they join the food from the alimentary limb, and then the digestive juices and the bile from the liver from the biliopancreatic limb. They join, and then they travel together through a common channel, and that's where the magic of the duodenal switch occurs. There's significant malabsorption, meaning that I am not absorbing all my fat. I'm also not absorbing all my protein that I eat. I'm not absorbing all of my complex carbs that I eat. I do absorb 100% of my simple carbs. But as far as fat, protein, and complex carbs, I'm only absorbing a portion of that. So if I'm not absorbing it, I'm not absorbing the calories, and I'm not absorbing all the bad stuff that goes along with it, like cholesterol, things like that. So because of that portion of the surgery, it was at a high risk. It's a very complicated part. It takes a very skilled surgeon. I am lucky enough to live and work in the same town that one of the most experienced surgeons in the surgery actually practices. So, but like I said, when I first watched this video, my interest was piqued, but the risk at that point, I kind of ruled it out because I'm not a risk taker. I went to my appointment with Dr. Stewart, and like I said, I went in there thinking I was going to have the vertical sleeve gastrectomy, which is the other part of the duodenal switch. The duodenal switch is 2 parts. It's literally the vertical sleeve gastrectomy, which is the restrictive portion of the surgery. So essentially they remove 80 to 85% of your stomach, and it's removed along the vertical curve of your stomach. So your stomach is left looking like a sleeve, which is why I think it's called a vertical sleeve gastrectomy, because it kind of looks like a sleeve. But you have a full functioning stomach, meaning that food enters through your esophagus, travels down in your esophagus, enters into your stomach, and travels the full length of your stomach, and it is released into your small intestines, and in this part, my alimentary limb of my small intestines, through the pyloric valve. With the Roux-en-Y, the way the anatomy of the stomach is on that, you lose your pyloric valve. It's just that upper pouch. And the pyloric valve is very important. It helps regulate hunger, regulate fullness, things like that. So I went in just thinking I was going to get the sleeve, which is just, removing part of my stomach's bonus. It takes away the ulcers that I have as well, actually. But when I went into Dr. Stewart, the first thing he asked was, why aren't you, I'm curious to know why you're not considering the duodenal switch. And I said, well, I'm interested. I just don't know enough about it. I didn't have enough time to research it from the time I learned about it. Talk to me about it. So we talked for a good hour and a half, which impressed me. And, the way he explained it in a nutshell for me was that with the sleeve, first of all, there's we only have about 2 years of history with the sleeve as a standalone surgery. They used to do the duodenal switch in a two-part surgery, where they'd go in and do the sleeve first, and very severely morbid obese patients, with BMIs greater than 60, they'd go in and do the sleeve part first. And let that patient lose and get down to a BMI of about 50 or even 45, and then they'd come back in and do the switch part. Well, then they found that the sleeve part, these patients were achieving weight loss, and a lot of them never went back for the switch. But as a standalone surgery, we've got 2 to 3 years of maintenance history on that. So at 2 years out, patients are maintaining a 60 to 70% excess weight loss. With the Roux-en-Y, at 10 years out, patients are maintaining a 65 to 70% excess weight loss. At 10 years out, duodenal switch patients are maintaining 80 to 85% excess weight loss. 80 to 85%. That's impressive. 10 years out. There is a high failure rate with the Roux-en-Y as well. And then with the Lap-Band, it's about 60% excess weight loss at 10 years out, but then there's a whole slew of complications that people are experiencing. So we talked about studies, we talked about risks, we talked, about his complication rate, his mortality rate, things like that. And I just told him, I said, you know what? Let's just go ahead and put me down for a duodenal switch in the notes, so I don't have to come back. However, I'm just going to go back and do my homework, research about it, and if I'm comfortable with it, we'll just move ahead with the duodenal switch, and if I'm not willing to move forward, I can just call the office and we can switch it to the sleeve. And we that's how I left it. And then I came back. This was back in August. It was summer, and I just started doing the research. And I started talking to people. I started getting on some of the obesity boards that are out there and just reading all about it, talking to people who have had it and who have lived with it, and it just became, I knew then that it's what I wanted to do. So that's why I chose the duodenal switch. Until next time, bye.